All right, we'll get started. We'll let Coach Pierce have a few comments overall about the recruiting class, and then if you guys have questions, you can go ahead and ask him.
Well, first of all, we were very excited today to sign 24, I think, top caliber high school football players to come into our football program. I think it's really going to help us have a strong future in the program. The only challenge is it takes about 2 or 3 years before you start seeing those effects with some of these guys. But the other thing I was very excited about is the number of athletes that we had offered scholarships to and the percentage of them that committed to come to Ferris. And I think that has a lot to say for the whole package that we have here at our university with all the different academic opportunities and the campus and all those things. Any specific questions?
What was the overall focus going into this recruiting class as far as positions? You got 5 linebackers, 4 running backs. Those areas of priority for you guys?
Well, every year you try to get a balanced recruiting class because, again, we're trying to project our needs 3 years down the road. So we kind of compare them to where we were last year in recruiting. And when sitting down and making some decisions before we started putting scholarships out on the table, we balanced it out pretty well. But linebackers was an area that we focused on, and year to year it seems like there are different. You go through different cycles where there are maybe more athletes at one particular area than another area, and there just happened to be a number of outstanding linebackers with great speed that were available, and we took actually a couple more than we intended at the very beginning to a lot of the positions.
As far as your initial targets, how do you feel about the way you guys were able to close the deal and close it and get the kids that you were targeting?
That was very exciting, and I really think that Ferris State University is a great product to sell. When we get kids here on our campus and they get a chance to experience all of the different things that we have to offer academically, and that in itself, I think, is a huge plus for us, and selling the whole package. And when we looked at the amount of guys that we offered scholarships to, and the guys that actually committed to us, we were up over 80% of the individuals came to Ferris that we went after, and that's really high. I mean, according to how I usually plan our scholarships out.
How you're going to go through some offensive changes this year as far as philosophy? How much did that affect your recruiting going into this year?
Well, we made some decisions on the direction that we're going to go offensively. We still are in the process of hiring an offensive coordinator to kind of fit into that philosophy. We're going to get away from running the option as we have in the past. So that kind of takes us in a little different direction to the type of quarterbacks that we recruit. And actually the quarterbacks that we have in our program right now are all going to fit that particular type of offense. And then it also put us into a situation where we spent a little more time recruiting tight ends. In past years we hadn't really included tight ends into our offense as much as we are right now. And so we did, we took that into consideration as we went through this recruiting process. And also with tight ends, with doing some of the things that we're looking at doing, you do need a fullback in that offense at times. And that kind of goes back to recruiting a number of linebackers because your linebackers have the ability to not only, play linebacker, but those are the fullback type guys that you sometimes will slide into the transition in your offense.
Well, I'm going to answer my next question on the fullback issue.
Yeah.
As far as any particulars, could you talk a little bit about the 2 quarterbacks that you created and what they bring to the table?
Well, we were really excited about the 2 quarterbacks that made the commitment to come here because those were the 2 guys we wanted. I mean, we offered those 2 individuals, and I think the young man from Rockford has got a real lot of upside to him. He's a good-sized kid. He's 6'4", moves very well, throws the ball very impressively. Has really got a good competitive mind to him, so I think he'll be very competitive. And the The other one from Grand Haven, I mean, I don't know if we'd have had our shot at him because he was being recruited by the majority of the Division I schools before his senior year, and because of an injury, at the beginning of the senior year, a lot of those people dropped off him. And he had some close ties to the Walkers, Kyle Walker, who played in our program and recently graduated. They're good friends of that family, and when picking a Division II school, Ferris was where he wanted to go. So, we're excited. I think both of those guys, bring in a good future for our quarterbacks, and we'll have two guys to compete with.
As far as the running backs, does your philosophy change the style of running back that you're recruiting?
Yeah, a little bit, but when you're looking at running backs, I don't care what offense you run. I mean, you need a guy that can be elusive with the football. You need a guy that has the ability to pass protect. I mean, no matter what you do, that guy's going to have to be involved in your pass protection. So he's got to be stout enough to be able to step in there and make things happen. But it doesn't change a lot. But we're excited about the kids that we got.
Typically, you're going to redshirt most of these kids. Is there any in particular, like at the skill positions or whatnot, that you feel like maybe can help you right away?
Well, you never want to plan on that. When we go into this process, we talk about redshirting to every one of these kids because I don't want them to have high expectations and then all of a sudden, a month after they're into camp, they're thinking about going home because they haven't accomplished their dream to become a starter in a month. That's not the way it works. Last year in our situation with having injuries and things like that, and being a young football team, we had a handful of true freshmen that ended up playing in our program. And, obviously we got a chance to experience how that works, and it would have been a lot better for those kids in our program if we were to been able to give them that year to mature and have them for a fifth year in the program. But right now, I mean, there are some impressive-looking kids, skilled kids that are coming in with that. Whether or not they're able to pick up our systems and play at the speed of the game versus high school to college, I'm not counting on that.
You got another Pipco coming in.
Yeah, keeping some the family ties going. That's both his cousin Luke and his uncle Ralph both played in our football program, and that's nice to see when you're able to know kind of the background and of some of these kids, because then you can you also kind of know what kind of character they are, and he comes from real good stock, and we're hoping that he'll follow the tradition that is two family members have in our program.
What about the defensive back? Let's talk a little bit more about the defensive backs that you brought in. Is there any particular characteristic that you saw with those guys and how they might fit into your program?
Well, the two corners we brought into our program, Terrence Stevens and Eric Decker, are I think both impressive athletes. Terrence Stevens, he's a burner, and he's a guy that is a very impressive 100-meter guy in the state of Michigan, and will be competing very highly in track and stuff like that. He's a 5'10" kid that can run and jump and also be able to do some things as a returner for us in the program. And then Eric Decker, you talk about family ties. His father used to be an assistant coach at Northwood University a number of years ago, and I've known his father for a number of years, and that was great because of the character. He's a real good guy. He's now a principal at one of the schools in Midland, and got out of coaching. And he's a kid that was a very impressive running back that you saw do a lot of impressive things there that you have to transition over to the defensive back position. So we got two good corners, and the other two safeties, Spencer Munson, his father played at one time here in the football program. And I'll tell you one thing, when we watched him test, and as soon as we threw the film on, man, that kid is smacking people. I mean, he is a super aggressive football player, and the other young man, Drew,